From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on June 26, 2026, here at South Carolina Public Radio Studios in Columbia. On this episode of the Lede, we take you on the final 2 weeks of the gubernatorial runoff primary trail. And look at how Attorney General Alan Wilson won a decisive victory in securing the Republican nomination over Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette.
Is there anything else?
That's the whole show.
And there's no wind down.
Oh, no!
But that doesn't mean you can't call. Give us a voicemail, 803-563-7169. We'll have some more wind downs in the future. We're also going to be going on vacation soon, so get ready for that, guys.
Terrible!
So there's going to be a lot of wind downs. Let us know how you're celebrating America 250. What makes you proud to be an American? 803-563-7169. I'm proud to be an American. All right, we have made it through the 2026 primaries and runoff, so pat yourself on the back. Congratulations to everyone who got in the arena that is democracy. Way to go. But to put a bow on the primary runoffs, I want to walk you through a bit of what the last 2 weeks were like. You no doubt have an idea because you too have been breathlessly watching and listening and reading all about it. But I want to focus on this Republican governor's race because it was our first truly wide open one since 2010. And there were a lot of twists and turns there at the end, as you know. So here's my segment for This Week in South Carolina, which you can also watch on YouTube. And we go through those grueling and at times messy 2 weeks. So take a listen here as we kick it off. After besting the four other Republicans on June 9th, Wilson and Evette took stock, worked the phones, hit the trail, and geared up for the 2-week push after Evette got 29% of the vote and Wilson got 26%. We spoke with both of them last week, including on the trail with Wilson, who continued holding meet and greets and small retail stops, like at Nichols Outdoor Store in Rock Hill, where he fielded questions from folks, and then a meet and greet at Black's Peach Farm in the growing city of York, where 50 people turned out. The area is in the heart of Congressman Ralph Norman's 5th Congressional District. Norman had 17% support in the primary and came in third. He endorsed Wilson on June 15th.
Over the past several days, I've carefully looked at both candidates, I've talked with them, and I've considered who is best for the future of our great state of South Carolina. The person that will cut wasteful spending, the person that will lower our taxes, fix our roads, the person who will empower our small businesses and which are the lifeline of this great state, and move South Carolina in a more conservative direction, which is definitely what we need. Today, I'm excited to announce my complete endorsement of Attorney General Alan Wilson.
Here's Burt Carey and Paula Daly, both former Norman turned Wilson supporters.
I supported Ralph Norman. He was our congressman in this area. He's been a wonderful congressman. I actually met him in person. So I was supporting Ralph Norman. But as soon as we found out who was in the runoff, I immediately supported Alan Wilson for the governor. I think what it comes down to, they're both solid Republicans, very conservative. I think he's a little bit more conservative than she is. I know his track record from being the Attorney General for so long. I know where he comes from. I know his dad's track record. So I think it's just that family relationship and that long-term relationship of watching him go through his career in politics.
We're a red state. Act like it, okay? That's all. We want everybody to have great things and do well, but we have conservative values. To be honest with you, I think he'll be probably one of the most conservative governors we've had in a long... He's just a little bit under Ralph Norman when it comes to conservatism. I didn't hit him on the casino. I'm definitely against casinos. Oh, he's against it too. I am not for medical marijuana either.
Things got heated during the runoff debate over in the Grand Strand on June 16th at Coastal Carolina University. only the second of 5 debates that the lieutenant governor participated in this cycle.
So first off, there's 2 separate issues here. Obviously, tax dollars go into institutions of higher learning that suppress conservative speech through the institutions, through the faculty, through the administration. Absolutely, I would be for not giving them tax dollars, but I would never support taking tax dollars because a bunch of kids who didn't like me or didn't like my politics protested on a campus. If we're going to be conservative, to protect conservative speech, then we should be conservative in protecting all speech, even speech that which we don't agree with. Lieutenant Governor, I mean, I was obviously and honestly disappointed, I was really disappointed that you were getting down in the mud, mixing up with college kids. A governor has to rise above it. A governor has to be the governor for all people. Yes, we can oppose suppressing conservative speech on campuses, but stripping kids of money because they don't like you or disinvited you, that's not what a governor's supposed to do. We can do better than that. And as governor, I will be a governor for all people, and we will protect conservative speech, but we will also protect speech we don't agree with.
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you were mentioned. You have 30 seconds.
Well, obviously, the Attorney General missed the whole point. Free speech is speech for all, but the only speech that's being stopped on college campuses is conservative speech. And I really think what the Attorney General was upset with is probably the hundreds of thousands of dollars he spent trying to lie to the voters that I was somehow a DEI queen, was squelched in 30 seconds with those students at SC State.
Governor, thank you. Attorney General, you have 30 seconds.
There she's going. She's lying again, folks. It's just more of the same. I mean, first off, Pam, we have the receipts, and we can put it out on the internet. It's there. Your company did sell DEI products before you became lieutenant governor. It's something you did. And Pam, you keep misrepresenting the truth. You've lied time and time again. You actually sent out a flyer to thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people saying that you signed constitutional carry into law to protect the Second Amendment. Did you sign a bill into law, Lieutenant Governor Evette? I mean, please answer that for the people. I'll give you the next couple seconds. Go.
Oh, my goodness.
Lieutenant Governor, you have 30 seconds for your response.
Yes. Well, I owned a payroll HR company, so while I was trying to keep my clients from getting fined from horrible regulations that were coming out of D.C., that's what I did. So as I was out there protecting small and medium-sized businesses and running my own, if the Attorney General was really so upset with DEI, he should have been trying to fight it from his office and not letting it impact the small businesses here in South Carolina.
Attorney General, you have another 30 seconds.
Well,
we're going to reset the time. We'll reset the time. You have 30 seconds starting now.
No, thank you so much. First off, Pam, look, I understand you're trying to run from your record from when your time as CEO of your company. You did sell DEI products. You have lied about your record. You've lied about some. You never answered the question. Did you sign a bill into law? You also said that you single-handedly kept sanctuary cities out of South Carolina, and you personally kept women and men out of women's sports. I'm the one in the lawsuit right now protecting that. Again, are you going to answer the question? Did you sign a bill in the law, and did you personally keep sanctuary cities out of South Carolina?
So, Alan,
Attorney General, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, we're going to reset the time. You have 15 seconds. Final word. We need to move on. You have 15 seconds.
First of all, I said it was the people of Charleston that kicked out a sanctuary city sheriff. That's what I said. The governor and I together are a team. I understand you don't get that, but we are. So when that was signed into law, it was signed in by the McMaster-Evette administration. So stop lying to these people. I'm surprised you even know what DEI is, never spending a day in business.
Thank you, Candace.
SCGOP Chairman Drew McKissick said that the intensity of the debate and the entire cycle is what primary voters want, though the crowd was very rowdy.
Everything that I've seen, whether it's online activity, the phone calls I'm getting, the grassroots people that I talk to, it's all excitement, enthusiasm, very energized, very interested. And that's good for us in the long run. It's a little bit different in terms of the fact that when it did come, candidates had already been campaigning for so long. And again, as I pointed out, they've been going since football season. So when you've got 5 campaigns hitting it for 8 months, and then you have one that come in at the last minute with a self-funder, putting a lot of money into the race, people get dug into their positions. They've been volunteering, helping, donating these candidates for a long time. So it's not like they were all sitting around and waiting for, an endorsement necessarily. Not that the president's endorsement obviously matters, but the later it comes in the process, the more dug in people can get in their positions. Years ago, famous, former National Party chairman, political consultant Lee Atwater, he used to say, issues win campaigns. That's because people care about issues. They get engaged because of issues. They'll donate money or they'll knock doors because of issues. When the candidates talk about that right set of issues, enthuse and engage people, that's what pulls the turnout.
Things were a bit more civilized at the Greenville Club on June 19th at a breakfast sponsored by the 4th District Republican Club and the Family Caucus. Some 175 people came out not just to have breakfast and to hear from the gubernatorial candidates, but to hear from other statewide candidates in the runoff. Wilson and Evette made familiar pitches.
Over the 8 years that I've been with him, right? We've given the largest state income tax cuts in the state's history. When I'm your next governor, I'll keep that momentum moving forward and I'll eliminate their state income tax. Because you see, I'm an accountant by trade and an entrepreneur at heart. And we don't kick the can down the road, have somebody else do it or solve a problem later on. We take care of it ourselves.
Put all the endorsements aside. Who do you think is going to be the person who's going to lead us into the future? Who do you think the person who's been battle tested? Who's the person that you think is going to be able to inspire, influence, connect with the voters of South Carolina? I submit to you, I believe that is me. Ladies and gentlemen, everything that I do, my true north, will be about making our state more affordable for your family, making our economy more profitable for your business, making our government more accountable to you.
Nate Lupp, who was neutral in the primary, said the campaign has been a pressure cooker.
I thought there was kind of two different aspects of this campaign cycle, especially for the gubernatorial race. You had when there were 6 candidates, and that was a very different race than the runoff where we have 2 candidates. So getting to that part where we know who the 50-50 chance of becoming the governor are is important. Then voters can get a little bit more serious, and really it's put in front of them. You have A or B, and taking those other 4 off the table was important. I think it's a win-win for the party. Both of them are great options. I could easily cast a vote for either. I think it's just going to come down to small things that resonate with the individual voters, whether they like the lieutenant governor's business background, whether they like the attorney general's tough stance on crime and supporting our law enforcement. So it's just going to come down to little things, I think, on Tuesday.
But that wasn't the only forum on Friday in the conservative upstate. Over in Pendleton, the two were set to meet again that evening. But in between the two forums, Attorney General Wilson got a major endorsement from President Donald Trump. It said in part, there are 2 highly respected candidates running to be your next governor. Both have had amazing careers and have been with me from the beginning. They are MAGA and America First all the way. These were the 2 that I was hoping would get into a runoff, and they did. I can't hurt one of them by only endorsing the other. So therefore, I am going to endorse for governor of South Carolina both Pam Evette and Alan Wilson. It's a wealth of riches. With either one, you can't go wrong. Vote for Pam or Alan. They will not let you down. The dual endorsement came 3 weeks after Trump endorsed Evette, dealing her campaign a major blow with days left.
Oh my goodness, the governor has been amazing. It's been wonderful to have his support. And then the president is the president. I mean, I'll tell you, after he called me to give me his endorsement, I woke up that next day wondering if I had dreamed it all, right? Because it's just overwhelming to have somebody as successful as him that is so passionate about America first, the American people, American business, American farmers stand behind you.
We were with Wilson at the Smokin' Pig barbecue restaurant in Pendleton Friday evening, moments after he got word of the endorsement.
First off, I'm incredibly honored to have President Trump's endorsement. I mean, wow, I didn't see it coming. I'm so grateful. Literally just found out about 15 minutes ago, and the President's office reached out to me to give me a heads up that it was coming. And obviously, a few minutes ago, we saw where Senator Tim Scott endorsed me. So it means so much to have the faith and the confidence of so many important people in our country rallying behind me. It just means so much.
The endorsement of Wilson ensures that Trump gets a win after his gubernatorial picks and primaries in Georgia and Iowa lost. Evette said the endorsement didn't mean she was set to face the same fate.
Well, I realize that politics is more than just about me and about South Carolina. And, we have a lot of midterms coming up, and I understand the president's position. I always look at the bigger picture. But I got a personal message from him that said, fight, win. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Inside Faith Fellowship Baptist Church, members of the Anderson and Pickens counties Republican parties gathered to hear the closing arguments from the two.
And if they ask you, why are you supporting Pamela Evette? See, because she has a resume to do the job. She was a successful CEO in the private sector, and she has stood at the right hand of the governor for 8 years. I know what it's like to be governor. I know where we are in government. I know what we need to fix and change, and I know how to do it.
And so no matter what happens on Tuesday, my feet are on the ground because my priorities are right now. As your governor, I promise to you and I commit to you to be a fighter. I've often said that, when we watch football games, we get frustrated when we see our team playing not to lose a game when we want them to win a game. Okay? Sometimes I see government doing that, embracing the status quo because we're afraid to fail. I commit to you as your governor that I will always fight for you, or I will always put you first. There are so many issues out there that I want to do, but I feel like we have embraced the status quo because we're afraid of the unknown. And I commit to you today that if you give me a chance to serve you, we're going to do things we have never done before. Just give me that opportunity.
The candidates were both in the Low Country on Saturday. And Wilson on Monday got a big jolt of energy from Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who not only endorsed him days after the June 9th primary, but was with him on the eve of the runoff election day in Sumter and in Columbia at Doc's Barbecue, where hundreds enjoyed some pulled pork and packed the house.
Why is it that people are fleeing big blue states and coming to red states like South Carolina? There are a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is for the jobs. And Alan is going to fight, and for safety, and not having, your kids trans and all sorts of, not being nuts. Those are all helpful. But jobs, you have jobs when you have a common sense conservative governor who's going to limit taxes and reduce job-killing regulations, and that's what Alan Wilson will do. So tomorrow, on Election Day, I want to ask every one of you, come out and vote for Alan for a strong conservative governor. And I will say this campaign has enormous momentum right now, including President Donald J. Trump endorsing Alan Wilson. And with that, I give you the next governor of the great state of South Carolina.
Cruz's Truth and Courage PAC also threw $250,000 behind Wilson in advertising in the upstate, and the senator said he seeks out the most conservative folks to endorse, and this had nothing to do with picking candidates opposite of Trump, like in this race and in Georgia.
Look, I try to make an assessment in every race, looking at the record of a candidate, who is a proven conservative, who has a real record of standing and fighting for conservative positions, and then also who has a path to victory. This at the end of the day is not a parlor game. This is about saving our country. This is about preserving freedom. And so I tend to get involved in races late because I want to get involved in races where my support can make a difference and help a strong conservative hopefully surge ahead and win the race, and I hope that it plays a helpful role here as well.
Wilson was voting alongside his wife, daughter, and son Tuesday morning, and it marked the second time his son was able to vote, and the day also marked a full year on the campaign trail. This is what he said about when he saw things shift for his campaign.
We started seeing our numbers in our campaign, started to see me close the gap and surge probably within a few days after the primary. Probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week, we started to really feel the surge. I'd already started to see the gap closing leading up to the primary. And then, of course, we were probably, doing really well. And then all of a sudden, we started to have a lot of good fortune. I mean, obviously, Ralph Norman, who came out and supported me the Monday after the election. I'm incredibly grateful to Congressman Norman, his family, and all of his supporters. They seem to be rallying around us. Obviously, Nancy Mace did that first night. And, what I tell people is, Meg asked the question, can people coalesce around you with such a bruising primary? You go back a year, and Miss Mace and I were not getting along, to put it politely. But we've come to an understanding, and we were able to build a bridge and not only become cordial, but to actually become incredibly friendly. And I was incredibly grateful for her to kind of set the example. No one saw it coming, that she came right out the gate and supported me. So That has been kind of like a big thing to me. I think that is where I started to separate myself, and people started saying, this is the guy that can bring factions of our party together. And I think that's what probably started the surge, snowballing. And then, of course, the president, and then Senator Scott, and then we had Senator Cruz here yesterday. So there's just this feeling of energy. And I will also say this, Gavin. I also noticed when I walked into restaurants, when I was walking through Walmart, when I'd go to small drop-ins, the crowds were getting a little bit bigger. More and more people were walking up to me that had never happened before. I'm like, okay, the voters are starting to pay attention. And that is when I started to feel the energy and the momentum grow.
Polls closed at 7 p.m. and Wilson was declared winner not too long after.
Ladies and gentlemen, I aspire not to be a transitional governor, but to be a transformational governor. People are skeptical. So many people across the state of South Carolina are skeptical about their government. They've become cynical. They're tired of the status quo. They're tired of elected officials just saying whatever they can say to get elected. But folks, I'm telling you, that is over. Here's what we're going to do. 3 things. I'm going to do a bunch of things, but 3 things I want to highlight for you. We're going to launch the Families First Audit Initiative. That's our version of DOGE. That's a complete top-bottom audit of all state government agencies. We're going to allow for public comment. We're going to let you take your government back, and then we're going to lay out a roadmap for real reform to make government more efficient, more accountable, more receptive, and better all around. And that's going to start the Families First Audit Initiative that Mike Rickenbaugh is going to lead. We're going to prioritize infrastructure. We're going to fix our roads and our bridges and expand our energy grid. We're going to modernize the Department of Transportation. And finally, let me be very clear. The era of bad corporate deals that cost taxpayers of billions of dollars are over. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it on the video. I think Mike might have even referenced it, and I've been consistent in every speech. I've told you that my North Star, my true north, in everything that I seek to do. When I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, these will be the thoughts going through my head. And Mike and I have committed to doing this as governor and lieutenant governor. Our number 1 goal will be to make living in our state more affordable for your families. To make our economy more profitable for your businesses. And to make our government more accountable to you. We're going to fight to eliminate the income tax, reduce your property taxes, DOGE, fraud, waste, and abuse from government, fix our crumbling roads and bridges, lower our utility rates, promote a kids-first education agenda, reform our judicial selection process, and much, much more. It is coming. You have my word.
We spoke with Winthrop political science professor Dr. Scott Huffman Tuesday evening about the twists and turns on the campaign trail during the final days, including that dual endorsement.
This race basically was over the moment Donald Trump gave the dual endorsement. That was releasing the floodgates, letting people do what they clearly had wanted to do in the first place, and that was, unfortunately for Pam Evette, support her opponent. So Alan Wilson really reaped the benefit of that just overwhelmingly. We saw endorsement after endorsement come in for Alan Wilson. All of the voters, it looks like, who didn't support Pam Evette in the original primary seems to have lined up behind Alan Wilson. It was dirty. Definitely every cliche of South Carolina politics, bare knuckle knife fight, yada, yada. But the real thing that made the difference in the end, that just opened the floodgates, was that Trump endorsement.
What do you make of the power of the endorsement from the president these days if he's willing to hedge his bets like this?
Well, he has done very well in federal races. He has not done as well in state races. So again, when folks, when Republicans say, hey, who does Donald Trump want to support him in Washington? They listen to Donald Trump. But it seems like more and more they're saying, look, that's the federal. I support Donald Trump, but we need somebody with their eyes focused back home. And so somebody whose only message, and this is not just in South Carolina, somebody whose only message running for a state office is Donald Trump is my everything. They are not getting the nods that you would expect. So the fact that Pamela Evette's sails just didn't puff out and just sail her to victory after that endorsement really showed us that there might be a problem.
You know, we just saw two different messages playing out there from the two candidates, with Wilson with that congratulatory speech, again, continuing that message of unity, kind of that joyful warrior message we've seen play out on the trail from him. Like, we haven't really heard him go too negative. Obviously, the debates are a different story, but when he's on the stump and when he's talking about his former opponents, he calls them competitors. He doesn't call them enemies. He's really trying to get a unifying message. I wouldn't say it's a moderate tone, but it's different. I mean, again, it's compared to what I heard from Ted Cruz, that more national message where he's attacking the Democrats. Obviously, we'll probably start hearing more of that going into November. But what do you make of his tone and how he's presented himself on the campaign trail throughout the past year?
He's been more broadly strategic. Again, it's sort of making sure that he's not alienating key allies. He did this along the entire way, knowing, especially after Trump endorsed Evette, that he would have to pick up voters from the other candidates. And if he had spent his time bashing each one of them by name and alienating their voters, he might not have been able to do that. Now, you know, no one knew that Trump was going to co-endorse him. So for all he knew, he had to be strategic. He couldn't go out on the attack against every other candidate. He did have some of his political action committees do that for him. Well, he didn't. No coordination, certainly. But several political action committees tied to him went on the pretty vicious offensive against some of the other candidates, including Ralph Norman. But Alan Wilson on the campaign trail made sure not to alienate any of their voters because he thought he might have to pull them in despite not having Trump's endorsement. And then he gets it at the end, and it just becomes an overwhelming victory.
The two-term lieutenant governor gave her concession speech before supporters in Myrtle Beach.
I want to reiterate what I've said all along. This race wasn't about me. It never has been. It's been about you. The people, the taxpayers, the business owners, the families who make our state the best in the world. This wasn't just a campaign for me, it was a movement. A movement built around keeping South Carolina the best place to live, to work, and to raise your family. And so just a few minutes ago, I called Alan Wilson to congratulate him on his win tonight and to tell him that he has my support as the party's nominee. I'm committed, and I hope you all join me in doing everything we can to ensure a win in November. As I see so many familiar faces in the crowd tonight, it's hard for me to feel anything other than an intense gratitude for all of the incredible people who've stood with me every step of the way.
All right, like we said, you can find that on youtube.com/SCETV News if you want to see the visual version of it, too. Now, other races decided really quickly on the way out. In the 1st Congressional District, Republican Charleston County Councilwoman Jenny Costa Honeycutt and Democrat Nancy LaCour defeated Representative Mark Smith and Mac DeFord, respectively, and they will face off in November to replace outgoing Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Zion Khalifa is the 2nd Congressional District Democratic nominee, and he faces Congressman Joe Wilson in November. Anderson Republican Representative Don Chapman won his runoff election for House District 8, and Jared Brooks won the Republican nomination in House District 99 to succeed outgoing state rep Mark Smith, who, like we just said, did not win that runoff for the 1st Congressional District. On the statewide level, Cody Simpson won the Republican nomination for Agriculture Commissioner. That's MAGA warrior Cody Simpson, as Donald Trump called him in his endorsement. He faces Libertarian Michael Sullins, Democrat Deshaun Blanding, and United Citizens Chris Nellums in the general election. Hotly contested Ag Commissioner race right there. We're going to be watching under a microscope in November. And the 8th Circuit Solicitor David Stumbo defeated Georgetown Senator Stephen Goldfinch for the Republican nomination for Attorney General. Stumbo faces Democrat Richard Hittrick in November. And that's the show, folks. Thank you for being along there with us these past 2 weeks, this entire campaign trail. Primary's over. General election, next stop. We'll see you after Labor Day. Well, I mean, we'll be back before Labor Day, but things will ramp up after Labor Day as they always do in election cycles. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna have some fun during the summer in between vacations, as you know. So thanks for listening. You can always leave us a message at 803-563-7169 or show us some love by leaving a review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. We love that too. And you can stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and South Carolina Public Radio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lead is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. Sydney Wilcox is our intern. And Jake's here too. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lead, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
Next Friday.
Here we go. Here's what he does, guys. Watch how he does this, okay? No, go ahead. What is it?